Friends and grasshoppers, this is the Formless Podcast, episode number 155 with me, Dustin. And today, well, I'm going to tell a little story about the first time I met our guest today. March of 2025, I got off work at, I was working at Coca-Cola. I started at 4:30 in the morning. I got home about 4 o'clock that afternoon. I went right home, picked up my oldest son, and we drove. I didn't even shut the car off. We drove straight to Portland. And there was a seminar put on by Herb Blue for our school, or for our style, Wu Ying Dao. And I had been wanting to go up there and meet some of these people that I had always heard stories about. Since I've been involved with this school, I've always heard stories about the first generation of students, first and second generation of students. So we drive all night, get up to Portland. I don't even know what time, go right to the hotel, go to bed, wake up the next morning and try and find this little school, this Wing Chun school where this seminar is going on. We finally find it, and there's a bunch of students from the Wisconsin school, Herb Blue School, and a couple of gentlemen that look like they know what they're doing and know where they are, but don't have any gear, don't have a gi. They're just kind of standing around. And so I introduced myself to them. And one of them happens to be Ricky Hamilton, our guest today. And we're making small talk, chit-chatting. And I don't know if you remember this, sir, but some Looney Tune walks into the parking lot and starts hollering and screaming at everybody about how we're not supposed to be there and our cars are going to get towed. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I remember him.
And Ricky says something to the effect of, "Hey, who do you think you are? And what are these people belong here? And if you got a problem with it, we can talk about it." I don't remember exactly what you said, and
I don't either. You know, when people start going off like that, I just okay. You know, I let them ramble. I let them ramble.
Yeah, you ran him off though pretty quickly. So. You started, and you brought at that same seminar. You brought, and I have pictures of it, and I'll post them. You brought a picture of your gi, or you brought your gi, your original Oregon Karate Association Wu Ying Mun.
Oh yeah, my black top.
Yes, yes, which was really awesome to see, because I had never seen any of that original stuff. How did you get involved in it? Was it the Oregon Karate Association when you got involved, or was it something else?
Well, it was OKA. They, Oregon Karate Association, and it's a real strange story. I used to live in Portland when I was moved up from moved to California, spent a couple of years down there, moved back, and I had a lot of friends, and we moved into the same area. And one friend of mine, him and I had been friends since like third, fourth grade.
Okay.
Dan Chaldua, bless his heart, he's dead now, but he passed away a few years ago. But I after my freshman year, we moved out towards Battleground, Washington, across the river. And I'd come over occasionally and spend the weekend with him, and we'd go, do our high school party stuff and all that kind of stuff. And one weekend, I didn't know he was into this. And it was like my sophomore year, it was like 68. And he says, and he'd had his driver's license, and he'd come over, pick me up and take me home and all that. And he said, so Sunday we're getting ready to go, and he's packing up a gym bag, and he says, um, I've got something I got to do. You want to go ahead and go with me, or I can just run you home? And I said, no, let's go. And so we go out to an area kind of west of Portland called Sophie's Island, and it's like in the not in the middle of the river, but it's on the river. And he pulls up, and I all these guys are walking around and stretching and that in their gi pants and t-shirts. And I go, what's going on? And he said, oh well, I've been taking martial arts. I've been taking karate. And I said, oh, that's cool. And he gave me. He says, you want to participate? And I said, well, I don't know what's going on. He says, I'll show you some stuff. And so he had a pair of extra gi pants, and I got them on. And so this was one of the outdoor workouts that they used to have. We'd go out on the river, we'd go up to parks and things like that, and there'd be anywhere from 25 to 45 people
Wow.
from the different clubs. And we're out there, and he's introducing me to people, and he introduced me to Bruce. You guys always called him Joe. To us, he was always just Bruce.
So
You
you're
know, he
talking about
really did,
Bruce Terrell.
he really didn't have any type of a title
Okay.
um, that I was aware of at that time. But that's how I got started, and it was just that one day, and I didn't think about it or anything, and um, I was. It got to the point where I thought more about it, and how much fun I had, the people I met. Um, Everybody there was very helpful, showing me things. Well, this is how you stand, and hold your hands, and here, try this kick, and they'd show me. And I came over to Portland a couple of times to the club, which was actually in a, like a large auditorium at the Western States Chiropractic College before they moved to the Ramona Club. Excuse me. And it was just too far for me to drive. And I was talking to this guy, and he said, well, we've got a club in Vancouver. And I'm going, oh, really? So I started going down there, and it was run by two guys. They were twins, and the Dale and Gale Power, real zany kind of guys, kind of off the wall. But I learned my basics from them, but I started. It was the summer of '68 for my. Let's see, that would have been my sophomore year. Yeah, my sophomore year of
Soph-
high school,
Sophomore year in high school.
and just started going to classes. And back then it was $10 a month. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun back then.
That's awesome. So now there was a club in Vancouver. Now, how far is Vancouver
Yeah,
from Portland?
they had a club in Vancouver. It was really small. It was probably like, oh gosh, I would say maybe 40 by 40,
Okay.
the floor area, maybe a little bit smaller. Cement floor. Had a partition where we could go in the back and change and all that, but it was pretty Spartan. It was it was
Yeah.
it was just basic, and I believe at that time they also had a club out in Beaverton, and then of course the Grand Avenue Club.
Okay.
Um, and I think they had one other, but I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. I mean, back at that time, I wasn't paying too much attention. But yeah, I started out in Vancouver at that club.
Now, when you started, it was it Kong Su that you guys were
No,
training?
It was Wu Ying Mun.
Okay, even back then. Wow.
Yeah,
So I
yeah. It's Go ahead.
one of the things that I've been trying to get right in my head is the timeline because I can't remember if it was Doug Zeal had told me that he had all started with Wu Ying with Kong Su, and then Bruce had started going up to was it Vancouver and training, or Seattle and training with Taki Kimura and guys up there, and then was coming back and then showing people some of the stuff that he was learning there, and then eventually Kong Su went away and it became Wu Ying Mun. But you're already in 1968 training Wu Ying Mun.
Yeah. Well, the story, well, from what I've heard and talked to people about is, um, Bruce would go up to Seattle and train, and he would also go around to different schools and just observe. Bruce, I'll tell you, is one of the most observant people I've ever met, and one of the smartest guys that I've ever met in my whole life. And he would observe, and the way it was explained to me is he would take, um, I mean, when you really look at any kind of martial art, the basic techniques are the same. Straight punch, back fist, roundhouse, front kick, round kick. It's all the same. It's just in the application and kind of um, the story behind how they apply them. Some are a lot harder, some are a lot softer, and the movement might differ just a little bit. But a punch is a punch, a kick's a kick.
I agree.
And he would take the best that he saw and incorporate them into what he already knew. And like, I don't remember ever being taught a kata or being required to learn a kata in all my time there. But it was mainly, for self-defense and for a fighting style is what was expressed to me.
Okay.
But when the changeover from Kong Su to Wu Ying Mun, I'm not sure when that really occurred.
Okay. Huh. That's wild. Were you doing a lot of tournament sparring and stuff in those days, or did that come later?
Um, the first I didn't really start tournaments. Well, I started in '68, and we only had three belts back. Well, four belts: white, blue, green. If you count white, then we had white, blue, green, brown, and black. So we had five levels, five belts.
Okay. Wow.
And of course, everybody starts out with their white belt. And I entered a tournament, and my control was terrible. And I got basically disqualified my first tournament.
For contact?
Oh yeah, I blasted the guy. And I felt really bad. And after that, I kind of concentrated on getting a better definition of my control and technique. And I really, didn't do another tournament until I got my blue belt. And that was like September of 1970.
Oh, wow.
So I went like maybe a year and a half before I even considered fighting in a tournament.
Wow. That's wild. So you were a white belt for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Wow.
And all I did was I just, was practicing my techniques and things like that, and getting a better feel of what I needed to do, especially the control part of it, because, you it's terrible to say, but you look at clips of people fighting in tournaments nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
and it's almost a joke to me.
It's definitely changed at a certain point.
Oh, when the guy just kind of reaches out and lightly, I mean, there's no focus, there's no power, they just kind of throw it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at that and I'm going, oh, you guys wouldn't last, in tournaments back in the '70s at all.
Well,
They wouldn't have lasted at all.
yeah, it's a game. It become a game of tag, and they're just
Yeah,
tapping
they
each
they
other.
yeah, like I said, there's back then and you showed up with your gi, your cup, and a roll of tape, and that was it. And maybe we made our shin pads. In football, the linemen have the pads
Yeah.
that are cover the top of their hand and their forearm. Well, we cut the spaces in between where the fingers go so your foot could fit through. And we modified those into shin pads. And um but that was it. That's all. You showed up with that and like $5 or $6 for your entry fee.
Went to
ten
town.
bucks was expensive back then for an entry fee.
Wow.
But yeah, and then I started fighting and did pretty good. I
Yeah.
did, I did, I did pretty good. For at one time, Dan Anderson, who was an excellent tournament fighter, and Professor Dan Anderson is internationally known.
Yes.
I was ranked number two behind him
No kidding.
for tournament fighting.
Wow.
So
I I had heard some stories that you were a pretty top notch guy in the sparring realm. That 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 came from a couple of people that I've talked to. So
well, thank you,
yeah,
thank
yeah,
you.
it's definitely been backed up. Now, so how long did it take you to get to a black belt level?
Well, I started in '68. I got my blue belt in like September of '70. So yeah, it was about a year and a half. And then after that, I got my green belt April of '71. So let's see, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. So 6 months. I only had my blue belt 6 months,
Okay.
and then I got my green belt April of '71, and then May, June. 2 months later, I got my brown belt.
Wow.
Yeah, I advanced pretty fast. Well, when I really started getting into the um, working out, the the instructors Dale and Gale, they gave me a key to the club, and I was going 4 and 5 days a week. Not only to my regular classes, like I think Tuesday and Thursday were our classes for colored belts, and actually nobody there was above. Nobody even had their brown belts yet.
Okay.
We were all colored belts. It was a relatively new club, and I was going in 4 nights a week for classes. So I'd get there like at first class was at 7. I'd get there about 6:30 and warm up and stretch and everything, and go till 9. And then I'd show up Saturday, unlock it, you know, stand in front of the mirror, punch this, punch that, kicks and everything. So I was hitting it pretty hard,
Yeah.
anywhere from 5 to 6 days a week for quite a while. And then I got my brown belt in June of '71, and then my black belt didn't come until April of '74.
Okay. Wow.
So I had my brown belt for what, about 3 years? Yeah,
Gosh,
close to 3 years.
that's wild. That's
And
wild.
I'd never, had any inclination to go test. I was having too much fun fighting.
You didn't bother yourself with tests. S-
Well, it wasn't that I didn't bother. It's just that it was really hard because the guys who were instructing us were limited. When I first got there, they were both brown belts teaching classes.
Okay.
And then they eventually got their black belts in that. But they, I'm not sure how much they would go to Portland um, to really learn what was going on, what Bruce was really teaching these guys in Portland.
Mm,
Um, when I had my brown belt on uh, on Sundays, they would have a brown and black belt workout over at the Grand Avenue Club. And my girlfriend at that time, um, after we graduated in '71, she was uh, she was going to nursing school downtown Portland, and she'd come home on the weekends, and I'd take her back to school downtown Portland on Sundays. So we'd go over to the Grand Club, and I'd work out with, Doug Zeal and Randy and uh, so many other guys. I can't even remember half their names. And she'd sit over on a bench and study. So that was the only real contact I had with all these guys, with
okay.
Dan Anderson and Randy and Doug Zeal and Tip Hanslick and gosh,
Yeah.
so many of them. And then I was also teaching at the Vancouver Club, kind of an assistant instructor, helping kids and other students with their basic techniques and things like that. So my availability to really go over during the week to take in some of these classes was pretty limited. Of course, it was quite a drive too. Quite a
Y-
drive.
yeah. And it's hard to be in two
But
places at once there. Uh,
yeah, it was. And then um, for some reason, the Powers brothers left. I don't know. They were kind of zany. They'd come up with all sorts of crazy things. Oh, I saw this. Do 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 do. And but there were other people besides people from OKA that kind of helped me along, and um, mentored me, so to speak, in a way.
yeah.
One guy was his name was Steve Chung, and he was a student at Clark College over in Vancouver, and he was a whatever black belt or master or whatever they call him in Wing Chun, and he pulled me aside. He came into the club one night and watched me sparring and that, and he pulled me in his side. He says, "Hey, I'd like to show you some things that might help you." So, he kind of came in on the days that there wasn't anybody there except me and him, and showed me, different aspects and different applications that, blocking and things like that. So he was one, and another one was Tim Jones. Um, Tim came from another style, but him and I had been friends for quite a while prior to that. He saw me at a tournament one time and pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I like the way you fight. I want to help you out, and here's some other things." Because he had a background in boxing,
Okay.
and then and he'd show me things and how to move, and so it wasn't all what I was learning from the Powers brothers or learning over in Vancouver. There were a couple of guys that kind of mentored me a little bit
Well,
and helped me
one
through the whole thing.
one of the things I really enjoy about the, I don't know the right word, maybe the mentality, the whole idea behind Wu Ying Dao, Wu Ying Mun, is that is okay. Like everyone I've ever talked to, like you're working with a guy showing you some Wing Chun stuff. You're working with another guy that's showing you some boxing things. I've talked to a lot of people in martial arts. I've been very blessed to do that. And the amount of them that only stay within whatever they're practicing and don't deviate and don't bring in outside influences is shocking.
Oh yeah.
Like it, to me, that's kind of what makes what we do special in a way. The fact that like it's totally acceptable for you to meet somebody who's like, hey, I know something that might help you out. Like, hey, try
Yeah.
this out. Do this. Have you thought about that? It to me, it's so rewarding and so awesome that is I just it's shocking that more people don't do that. I don't know. I'm maybe going off on barking up the wrong tree, but
No, no,
I
no.
think I think
I
it's
fully
cool.
agree with you. There's and I mean that Dan Anderson, Professor Anderson. That's one way that he strengthened his tournament fighting was he would question people about techniques and things like that, and then with and then he'd adapt them. And adaptability is the key. I mean, you watch some of these tournaments, and these guys are jumping around and spinning and all that. Uh, The one thing I always told my students is basic techniques will work every time, every single time. Doesn't matter. I mean, jumping around and that looks really good in the school, in the club, in the
Hmm.
dojo. But when you get into a tournament situation, some of these guys kind of go overboard and they try these fancy tricks. And if you see them do it a couple of times, you can figure out how to get around it.
Yeah.
That's an important thing that I found out. I mean, there were some tournaments where I had like 15 or 20 people in my division, and I'd watch every fight and watch their footwork, watch their movements and things like that. And if you can start picking up on that, um, it gives you an advantage. So, being observant of what somebody's doing
Hmm.
during a tournament situation really helps you a lot when you're and even when you're just sparring in the club. You pick up on a little twitch or something like that, and you can almost anticipate what their move is going to be.
Yeah. 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 That tell. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, everybody's got to hold them or fold them tell.
Yes, they do. We've talked a little bit about that this morning. Uh, what do you think? I wanted to go back. You said something about teaching. When did you start teaching? Did you start like volunteering to help out first, or did somebody come to you and be like, "Hey, I can't teach this week. Can you step in?"
No, it was usually it was new students so that Dale or Gail could concentrate with the current students, and then they'd give me, like two or three new people would come in, and okay, this is H form horse stance, and this is a fighting stance, and this is how you punch, and just that. So, I was kind of an assistant instructor, is um, what Bruce geared it as
Okay.
when I started. So it was mainly, mentoring the new students,
Kind of
and getting them to the point where um, they would understand the movement, understand the technique, things like that.
kind of get them up to speed so they can join the rest of the class.
Yeah, yeah. And so they get them up to speed to the point where um, they could interact with the next level.
Gotcha. Did you enjoy doing that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It,
I love teaching.
it's
I after they left, Bruce made me head instructor for the Vancouver club, and it was really weird. Yeah, I hate to say this, but I never tested for my black belt.
wh- did they what did they do? How did you
Well, Bruce called me up one day and he says, "Hey, I want you to come over for lunch. I want to talk to you about something." I said, "Oh, okay." Usually it was just how the club's going, da 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 da, and just kind of a BS session with him and Dan Anderson, because they Bruce had a print shop down on Burnside, and I come in and said, "Okay, so I'm ready to go," and we'd go out to lunch, and we're walking out the door, and there were these two um, I don't know, platforms that in front of the windows that you could display things that people could see, and there was a black belt laying there. And I said, "God, look at this! Somebody left their black belt laying here." Dan Anderson goes, "Well, it's not mine." And Bruce says, "It's not mine." And they look at each other and they go, "Well, it must be yours." I go, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, that's yours now." And the way they explained it to me, because I said, "Well, I haven't tested for it," and he said, "Yeah, you have." I go, "What do you mean?" He says, "Every tournament that you entered and fought in, and from he'd visit once in a while, or somebody would come over from Portland and watch the teaching and what was going on in the club." And he says, "You were basically being tested. You were being watched." And
Wow.
uh, yeah, so I was, I guess I was being unknowingly tested every time I fought. So
That
that made me feel pretty good.
that is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. I my neighbor does Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and they do something kind of similar where there's a group of them that'll kind of get together behind the scenes and talk about it, and like, oh, Fred over here, he's been coming to
Yeah,
class long enough, he's ready, and they'll make him like roll with everyone in the class, and then depending on how that goes, does he lose his cool? Is he able to stay focused? Can he get the job done? And then they present him a belt. And I've always kind of admired that. It's like they don't necessarily tell you that they're going to do that. They just kind of throw you in the deep end and like, we think he can swim, you know?
well, when testing to me is crucial,
Oh, it's,
especially in the lower belts. Um, but in some ways, it can be, I don't know, for lack of a better word, kind of phony. And I don't mean phony as in not real, but you've got so many variables going on. The person's going to be nervous.
mm-hmm.
They're going to be, yeah, emotional. Oh God, I'm being tested. Uh, you know,
Yeah.
and if it's done the way they did it to me, they can observe how you really are. How you adapt to things.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's okay, you need to do this, and this, and it's structured, it doesn't give you any opportunity to adapt to changing situations. That's
I, yeah, yeah, that's an interesting point because I think that there is a fine line. There's always that person, myself included, that has that anxiety for testing. Like I
oh
don't
yeah,
feel like I'm a good tester, um, or test taker, but if if I just do the thing and not worry about the outcome, if I'm just doing it, like I can demonstrate all of that stuff. I can show it. But when you put it under a microscope or this finite thing of like, oh, next Friday we're gonna, we're gonna actually test you and watch you. Um, that does a lot of psychological stuff to people. I
especially if
think.
they tell you that on a Monday or the
Yeah.
week before. You've got all those days that there's some doubt in your mind, or am
Mm-hmm.
I going to do good, or it just the building up to the test itself can cause a
Yeah,
lot of anxiety.
for sure, for sure.
And then being in front of people that, like with us, it was Bruce and your instructor, and sometimes Bruce would bring one of the other black belts over. So you're in front of, three or four people judging you on all this stuff. So, especially for kids,
Oh yeah,
younger kids, it's some of them have no fear, and other ones, it's just, and like you said, it's a lot of anxiety, a lot of pressure, a lot of pressure.
for sure, for sure. Uh, that is, I'm just, that's cool. That's a neat story. I have not heard anything like that before. Where they must have thought pretty highly of you though to to be like, yeah, Rick's done the job. He can do it, and let's surprise him with this. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, because like tournaments, uh, Tim Jones and I, we probably averaged at least one or two tournaments a month for a long time.
Wow.
We'd go Seattle, and then they'd have a lot of tournaments at community colleges up in the Puget Sound area. We'd go down to Eugene, Salem, you know, but we'd average probably one, maybe two tournaments a month, and that went on 2 or 3 years,
So
at least that long,
so
at least that long.
like every other weekend then.
Pretty much, pretty
Wow.
much. Because Seattle's only a couple hour drive from where we lived in Vancouver, so we could get up in the morning, um, be there, fight all day, come home, and you know, call it a day.
Wow. Wow. Now, what were you doing for work? Were you just teaching and that was your employment or
Oh no, let's see. Well, of course, most of the time, up until June of '71, I was in high school,
okay.
and then I was working at a pizza place and going to school. I was a student at Clark College. That was kind of an odd thing too. I was a police science major. I wanted to be a cop,
Okay.
and there was a guy from Portland Police, and I'm not sure what what style he was, but he would come over and teach the um, kind of the police tactics, self defense things.
Okay.
And I showed up, to the class one night, and he goes, "I know you," and I go, "Well, I haven't done anything, officer."
No, not
And
me.
apparently, he had seen me at a tournament in Portland, someplace, and he says, "Well, instead of you taking the class, I want you to help me." So, here I am helping this guy, this police officer, to train um, other people that were in the criminal justice classes,
Oh,
um,
okay.
things, defensive moves and that. So that was kind of strange. I mean, it was kind of cool, but I had no idea that anything like that would ever happen. But yeah, no, I was working at a pizza place, going to school, and teaching, and that was about it
Wow.
at
Wow.
that time.
Yeah. Yeah. We had talked a few months. Oh gosh, it's been a long time since back, a couple of months back. And you had told me you eventually were working for the Portland Trailblazers. Was that you?
Yeah, I was with the Trailblazers for, oh gosh, I started in '96
What
and retired in 2018.
What were you doing?
Well, I started out um, in the security department
Okay.
as a what they call a security agent. Go around and check the doors and da 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 da. And then after I was made full time, um, they knew of my martial arts background, and so they asked if I'd like to basically be a VIP security escort
No
for
kidding.
certain people that would attend things. I said, "Well, yeah, sure, I'll do that." And so I was, I don't know, for lack of a better word, you could say like I was a bodyguard or whatever.
Yeah.
But some pretty VIP people, pretty VIP people.
Okay.
For 3 years, not only was I doing the arena stuff, my regular shifts going around checking doors and da 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 da. But for about 3 years, I was on a security detail for the owner, for Paul Allen.
Wow. From
And
the owner of the Trailblazers, right?
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
for Paul. And he would bring down a group of people from Seattle. So we were basically responsible for him, and his mom would come down with him. So we were basically responsible for them. The other people, they had, some other people that would like take them to where they were seated and all that. But our main concern was Paul, making sure if anything went on to get him out of the building, get him to a safe place. But he'd come down for Blazer games and concerts, and we'd do that with him. And then after he'd leave the arena, then our focus was on the players. After they got all showered and that, we'd go ahead and escort them out to their vehicles, and stand there when they were signing autographs and everything like that. And then it got to be where they were asking me to help with performers that would do concerts there, because they pretty much wanted the same thing. They wanted somebody with them that could navigate the building in case of
Ah.
a situation, and get them out of the building, get them back to their bus or wherever they needed to go to get to be safe. So yeah, I did that for quite a while.
Neat. That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
it
cool.
was, met a lot of people. Worked with the Secret Service once when Bill Clinton came in for uh, Portland State University commencement. I worked with them for like a week. We had to the night before the commencement, we had to completely clear the building. Um, we had four or five of our guys there, and each one had a ring of keys, and they flew in a special like canine unit, and we took them. Each of us took a floor, and we opened every door in that place, and they'd send the dog in and sniff
Oh,
around and things
geez.
like that. And but nobody else could be in the building. We had to completely clear the building. Nobody could be in there but us and them.
Wow.
So yeah, I learned a lot from them too about executive security.
I bet.
Um, you know, it was interesting. It was pretty interesting. And then as far as the players, because the 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 security director at that time they'd sent him back to a executive protection school back in I think Colorado. And when he came back, he went over all this stuff with me and never had a problem.
Well, that's good. That's good.
But not only that, I worked as a bouncer for a few years, and so
Did
my training came in pretty handy for a lot of things.
That's what I was going to ask. I find when I when I do training regularly and when I'm teaching fairly regularly, I find I pick up things pretty quickly. I notice stuff. Not like
Awareness,
yeah. I
awareness.
just become more aware of my surroundings and what's going on around me. I don't know. I've never really shared that. I don't know. Did you find that martial arts and sparring and all of that stuff like carry over for bouncing and for working security and
Oh yeah,
kind of keeping an eye on everything?
yeah. I mean, you're more attuned, you're more focused. Um, Especially when we'd have like Paul would bring in guests. Um, it was really kind of unnerving when you had Paul bring in Bill Gates. I mean, you've got two guys sitting there courtside worth like $80 billion,
Yeah.
and you're, trying not to be obvious, but you're scanning the crowd and you can kind of pick out a squirrel, oh, this guy looks like he might be a little sketchy. So, um, but even away from all that, you know, I find myself, and I don't know if you find yourself doing this too, is if somebody um, kind of passes by you too close, you'll kind of put your hand up and go like this, just a little bit, just
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
to
like I'm aware of what's going on over there. Yeah.
yeah, you just they're a little close, and you just kind of put your hand up, and it's just reflex. It becomes second. It's muscle memory, and it just becomes second nature. And I think if people, especially students, learn that, then they're going to be a lot more more aware of what's going on around them and be able to react.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. You know, that kind of brings me up. What were some of the lessons you learned either from teaching or from being taught? Like, what were some of the things that you remember that stuck with you? Like, did you grab anything and was like, oh yeah, I'll never forget this?
Oh gosh, so many things. I mean, like the biggest thing is the awareness.
Hmm.
Um, just being aware And I wish everybody, whether they take martial arts or not, everybody, especially nowadays, you have to be aware of what's around you. If you're at a mall, if you're at a grocery store, if you're walking down the street, just don't be so focused on what's in front of you, but you know
What's going on around you? Yeah.
what's going on around you. Because anything can happen in just a split second, and if you're kind of aware or more aware, um, you'll start. Your mindset will not be as rigid, and you'll be able to adapt a little
Hmm.
bit if you need to. So, I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. And the other things were just, the friends I made, during the whole thing,
Yeah.
during that whole time of teaching and doing tournaments. Um,
Now,
went to Professor Anderson, Dan Anderson. He retired a year and a half ago, 2 years
yeah.
ago. He's not teaching anymore, but he still goes out and does seminars and things like that. And I saw some people that I probably hadn't seen in 40, 45 years.
No kidding.
Um, and yeah, and it was just like, hey, saw you last week at a tournament.
Yeah, you just pick up right where you left off.
Yeah, pretty much,
Yeah.
pretty much.
That's cool. So, did you go to his retirement
Oh
party?
yeah, oh
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Dan and I always got along. Um, like I said, I didn't have a lot of contact with these guys over here, but I still had, um, respect for all of them,
Hmm.
and I think I got that respect in return. But I kept in touch with him. Yeah, I kept in touch with him.
Yeah. That's something else. It's neat to see. Well, when like at the beginning of this, when I was talking about the story of meeting you, you and Dennis Adair were there,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, and uh, I s- I immediately could see that there was some camaraderie there. Like those two guys know each other. They've been together for a while. They hang out. That you guys are.
Well, we have an old timers lunch
Yeah.
once a month. So let's see, Dennis is there, and Doug Zeal is there. Randy Zank shows up once in a while. Tip Hanslick. Tip was uh, he's one of the best fighters I've ever seen. Um, and then other guys come in. One of my old students who attained his black belt, Ted Farnsworth, um, shows up once in a while. And they, it's really funny. There's this thing that I saw, and I can't really remember how it goes, but out of 10,000 people that begin martial arts, and it goes down to the attrition
Mm-hmm.
and how many quit after the first year, and how many this and how many attain their black belt. And as far as I know, he's the only one of my students that did
Wow.
got his black belt, and I think that's what the ratio is, basically, like 1 out of 10,000 or something like that. I really can't remember
Yeah,
the
yeah.
exact numbers on it.
The average statistic for a gym membership now, like martial arts or just regular lift weights gym, is about 10 months.
Yeah,
You know, there's so many things out there. There's so much available to people nowadays. And I think attention spans are just next to nothing. And so if you're not constantly feeding something to somebody, they're on to the next thing. So,
well, I mean, and nowadays, I mean, there's so many things. I mean, um, karate. was the big thing back then, and then you had the karate and kung fu
Mm-hmm.
that people, okay, I'm either doing karate or I'm doing kung fu, but um, the the underlying was there was judo, which there probably were. I think there was only one judo school in Portland. Um, Aikido, which you basically never heard of, and nowadays you've got all the MMA and jujitsu and things like that
Oh
that people
yeah,
can do instead of just the karate and kung fu thing. So all depends on where you want to go with it.
for sure. For sure. Sir, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I've been wanting to do this for over a year now with you.
Oh, I know. I
I
know. And I blame myself for it,
no,
with
don't blame you. The my problem is every week my list gets a little longer of people I meet and people I want to talk to, and there's just not enough time. But I can't let you go without asking you. One of the things for me personally, what were some of the drills that you used to do with your students? What were some of your favorite drills to torture them
Oh,
with?
we would just work on we'd do set work.
Uh huh.
Back then, you had, okay, straight punch, and we'd do them individually, to where we were just doing the technique, and then pair up. So one guy punch, the other guy block, and switch off and things like that. One step sparring,
Well,
and then
what's one step sparring?
basically instead of just standing in front of each other
Mm-hmm.
and doing the technique punch and block, you'd go ahead and you'd move, and you'd go ahead and you'd throw the punch, like you're sparring, only it's very, very slow,
Okay. Okay.
just so that they could um, get the feeling, of having a another person instead of just stationary, the
Ah.
movement,
Okay.
which way they're moving and which way you had to move and things like that.
Gotcha.
And sticky hands. I love sticky hands.
All right.
Where you're standing there and you try and touch the other guy,
Mm-hmm.
just going really slow. That's fun. But mostly just, we would just do the basics, and then, we'd go into the one-step sparring, and then speed it up a little bit gradually, and work on control. That was another thing about the tournaments back then. We could go as fast as we could, as hard as we could, and nobody ever really got hurt because of the control that we learned. Um, and that wasn't just with us; it was pretty much with everybody that I fought. I mean, I got blasted a couple of times, but it wasn't, it was a mutual thing where I moved in a little bit too far, or I missed a block or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I got blasted a few times. I got hit in the eye once. I got hit in the nose once. But for the most part, out of all the tournaments that I fought, um, my injuries were not that bad. I mean, nothing that required anything more than an ice pack and some aspirin.
Awesome. Awesome.
But yeah, that's the thing, that um, new students should, get in their mind too. Like I was saying earlier about basic techniques. Basic techniques are your foundation, and then everything above that is you're adapting, whether it's through movement or multiple attacks at the same time, punch, punch, kick, punch, kick.
Mm-hmm.
It just, but the basics are what's gonna um, always be with you, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I always tell them, I like the word foundation. Like
Yeah.
your foundational techniques, the ones that support everything else, like you have to have a strong foundation if you're going to build a house. If you build a house with a weak foundation, it's going to fall down. Same thing
Oh
with your
yeah.
skills. If you build skills, irregardless of the skill you're building, you want those foundational skills to be as strong as possible.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to branch out. I mean, with me, when Steve Chung was showing me things from Wing Chun, I wasn't abandoning Wu Ying Man, but I was expanding my knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and that's important to expand your knowledge, but always remember your roots.
For
Always remember
sure.
your roots.
For sure. Well, again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you taking your time to do this. We've already hit an hour. This is our sweet spot here. I just have a couple of announcements. If there's anything else you want to share,
No,
now's the time
I
to
mean,
do it.
it's just I told you about that book that Dan Anderson wrote, didn't I?
Well,
About Wu Ying Man.
yes, yes.
Yeah, have you had a chance to?
I did sneak a copy. I did get a
All
copy.
right,
Yes.
it's unauthorized,
Yes.
but that could answer a lot of things too. About kind of what happened on this side of the river.
Yeah, it did. It was a great insight to see how things got the ball rolling, and how unique, and it really, in my eyes, it's a very unique theory. A very, the style of martial arts. It's not cut and paste karate. It's something else, in my opinion.
It's structured to the point of the basics and that, but it's not stiff.
Mm-hmm. It's not
It
stiff.
and I I believe that that's what Bruce wanted to achieve, was this is something that anybody can do. Tall, small, skinny, fat, this is something that like with Taekwondo, I'll be damned if I could jump up in the air and do some of those kicks. Even back when I was 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I loved fighting those guys. My favorite move on them is they do some high kick and I drop down and do a sweep, and I drop down on my hip and do a rear leg sweep on them, and one guy, he was like 4 or 5 feet off the ground when but that's it. He developed something that was simple, and not simple in the context of what do I want to say? I don't know. I can't think of the word right now, but
Yeah.
simple, that it was easy to understand, easy to do, and like I said, anybody could do it.
So
Anybody could do it.
so I like to say it's simple, not easy. It's simple,
Yeah, that's
I
true.
I could explain it to you. I can show you how to do it. But once you try to do it, right? Like we're gonna work some techniques. We're gonna work a combination, whatever you name it. We'll work that. And now we're gonna put that in a live environment where where you're not only trying to hit somebody, but somebody's trying to hit you. That changes that whole dynamic on its ear. Because before, we're just throwing those punches in the air with no consequences.
Yeah.
Right?
Or against a bag.
Or against a
something
bag.
like
Yeah,
that,
yeah. Or a focus mitt or what have you. There's no consequences for you being sloppy or slow or off on your timing or any of that stuff. You get this, some people, not everybody, but you get this sense of self-confidence of like, oh, I can do this. This is easy. And then you put yourself in that environment where now not only are you hitting, but somebody's trying to hit you. It changes that whole world.
Yeah, the whole dynamic, and
Yeah.
then everything comes together, and you begin to understand why I move that way when this is going on,
Yeah.
and why I hold my hands a certain way, and eventually something the switch goes off, and you're going, damn, that's why these guys have been showing me this and preaching to me this, and it's like it might take a little bit for some people to understand, but once they get it,
Yeah.
they got it.
But you have to put yourself through that ringer, so to speak, of like somebody's trying to use that same thing on me. Does this work, or can I make this work?
Yeah.
It adds a level to it that is, you just have to do it. Right.
Yeah. Like I said, once they understand the function, because a lot of styles, you go forward, you go back, you go to the left, you go to the right. With us, you've got the other directions. You've got eight, at least 8 directions to go. It's angled, and a lot of styles that's just straight forward, straight back, straight left, straight right. But when you put those other angles in with it, that's what I found is they weren't ready for it. They were expecting you to come straight forward, move straight back, but when we went to a tournament, when Oregon Karate Association showed up at a tournament, people didn't like it because we would come away with probably anywhere between 40 and 50% of the trophies.
Wow.
I'd say at least that, because we had so many good fighters that just were excellent. But we'd come away with a high percentage of trophies from the tournament.
Right on.
I can't even think of how many I've got. It's got to the point where some of them are so old that instead of throwing them away, I've taken off the plates.
Oh,
To tell you what place and tournament and everything, and I'm mounting them in shadow boxes, and then getting rid of all the rest of the parts of it. So I've still got the memory.
Yeah.
Of that tournament, but I don't have the big hardware part of it.
How cool. That's neat. Hey, thank you.
Doesn't take up as much room and less dusting.
There you go. There you go. Oh man. You have to send me a picture of that.
I will.
Please do.
I'm in the process of doing one right now. I'll send you a picture of a couple other things I made. One was for my friend Dan, who passed away. And another one was for Tim Jones, that the other friend of mine that helped me, that mentored me.
Yeah.
Him and I've have always been really, really, really close.
That's awesome. That would be really cool. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
No problem.
I appreciate you, and I'm sorry we didn't do this sooner, but the invitation's always open. If you ever want to talk again,
just let me know.
You got it.
Let me know.
You got it. And I'm trying to make my way up there for one of those lunches with you dinosaurs. We're going to make that happen. Hey, I just got a couple of announcements to make before we end this show, and then we'll cut it. I'll cut you loose. September 12th and 13th, friends, keep your ears open, your calendars ready. We got a seminar coming up. I'm flying my friend Randall Davis out from Colorado Red Forest Chinese Boxing and Kung Fu Conversations podcast. He's going to come out and teach us a 2-day seminar on Wing Chun. That is still open. We have tickets available. You can find out more information there on theformlesspod.com. Thank you.